Hello, my friends, and today we're going to talk about the number one trap that people fall into when it comes to somatic skills and healing at the level of the body. And this is an over-reliance on nervous system regulation. So this is a phrase that's been all the rage for a few years, and it's very useful. What it means is that, when your nervous system gets dysregulated, i.e. what that means in real life is that, emotions, difficult, unpleasant emotions are starting to come to the surface and the body's having to cope with them in some way. Either, it might start to get anxious, it might get tense, you might go into a freeze, a shutdown, your mind might start, going a bit more crazy than usual. And this dysregulation it's unsettling, it's quite hard to, function as well. And so we regulate ourselves to bring that dysregulation almost back into alignment. And that's incredibly useful in many circumstances, which I'll talk about in a bit. But you can almost get addicted to it. It's this sense of we start to fear our emotions. We start to feel bad, and it's like, let's regulate these away. I have lots of friends who, for example, the moment they start feeling bad, they'll go to a yoga class, or they'll go to the sauna, or they'll go for a swim in the sea, because I live near the sea, so lots of my friends go swim in the sea. They'll do all three of those back to back sometimes, and it's like, oh, I feel so much better now. And it's like, yes, you do, but the problem is that the next day, something happens and they get dysregulated again, and they need to go do the whole thing again. So they're continuously sort of maintaining this lifestyle of yoga and sea swims, and sort of, which, it could be worse, right? Doesn't sound too torturous, but there is like a grind to it and underlying it is this inability to really meet our experience. And that's what's missing, and that's the trap that you can fall into, is we don't ever build the capacity to meet our emotional experience and process it through. Because when you learn to actually allow the unpleasant feelings, to figure out what the emotion is and actually let it work through, the whole thing then relaxes and you have a natural regulation afterwards. Like the emotion comes up, peaks, and then, there's a natural relaxation that comes. And even better, that repressed emotion is now no longer in your system. It's integrated. And so that same emotion can't get triggered in the same way. And so as you keep on allowing these waves of emotion, you're actually sort of cleaning yourself out. So the difference between these two, you could think of it this way. Imagine you have this sort of box of repressed emotion inside you. This is all the emotion that you've never had the opportunity to feel because you were too small, you didn't have the support you needed. You were sitting at school and you were frozen at the back and you felt scared, but you couldn't allow it, or you felt ashamed and you couldn't allow it. All of that is carried within you. And when we get triggered, it's like part of that. There's some echo from the outside or some trigger from the outside that echoes one of those emotions within you from the past, and it comes up like a jack in the box. And when you're, that's the unpleasant emotion coming up. And when you regulate your system, it's like you get that jack and you put it back in the box. The jack pops out of the box. It's like, okay, let's regulate. Let's do our breathing exercises. Let's, do the vagus nerve exercises and so on. And you're putting it back in the box. And that might be really, really appropriate and really useful. If you're at work, you don't have space to do anything else. You want to make sure you can regulate yourself a little bit and carry on with your meeting or whatever it is. Or you've got to take your kids to school. Regulation is incredibly helpful. Go for it. But you are sticking it back in the box. And when you heal, when you learn to build capacity to be with your experience, it's like you're emptying out that box. And then the next jack can pop out, the next layer of emotion or whatever it is. And you're emptying yourself out more and more and more in this really beautiful way. It's challenging, which is, why people don't do it as often as the first one. But it's so worth it. And that's the key skill to build is this capacity to be with your emotional experience, which can only be built by actually really meeting it and just meeting the unpleasantness of that emotion and learning to sit with it. Now, you can bring in resources to support you. I've got a couple of videos on resourcing. I'm not suggesting here for a moment that you should let these emotions overwhelm you. It may be the case that they are too strong, or you don't have the capacity yet to meet what's coming up. That's absolutely fine. Then you can regulate yourself, you can take a step back, you can distract yourself, whatever's needed. You can get some support. but that little by little, you can over time build that capacity. It works like being at the gym. You start by lifting weights, and you pick a small weight at first. You do a few reps, you put it down, you come again next week, you lift a slightly heavier weight, and you build that capacity. With emotion, it's exactly the same. You just touch on the edge of an emotion for a small period of time. It might be 10 seconds at first, that you just touch on the edge of your anxiety, and then you take a step back. The next time you stay with it for 20 seconds. And in this way, you kind of, over time, months and years even, you can really build a much, much deeper capacity. Just like in the same way at the gym, if you go to the gym for 5 years of lifting weights, you look completely different. Someone who's taken it seriously is utterly transformed if they go to doing weightlifting at the gym for 5 years. And that kind of emotional transformation goes just as deep, if not deeper, in this inner transformation. If you keep doing this work, it's like you can become, Mr. or Mrs. Universe of sort of emotional capacity, and it's a really amazing skill to have, because it means you can really meet what life throws you. It doesn't necessarily make it fun, in the same way that lifting weights is not necessarily like just all pleasure and fun and games. It's hard sometimes, but it's worth it in the long run. It means much less suffering in the long run, because you don't have to run away from your experience anymore. Nor do you have to endure it eternally, because when you keep resisting it, when you keep regulating it away, it's like it keeps on continuously coming back, and you have to continuously push these away, and it's continuously coming back, and you're playing this game. Whereas if you can allow it, you can just allow it and be with it, and you wait for it to pass through. And then the next thing comes, for sure, but there's time in between, and you're just going with the flow. You're moving with life rather than against it, which is a massively different way of doing things. And the more you do it, it's like you go more and more with life, more and more with life, more and more with life, and you merge more and more with the stream of life, as opposed to sort of continuously resisting it. So I think I've hammered this point home in about 10 different ways. So you can check out some of my other videos on how to do this. I've got one called How to Feel Your Feelings, for example. There's lots of other videos that go into detail. And I do work with people one-on-one to help them build this capacity within themselves and learn how to process their emotions, and also how to regulate their nervous systems when and where that's needed. So you can check out my work in the link below, and I will see you next time.